Hello and welcome to this exploring session. Today we are beginning our first look at the Bugbears by John Jeffere or John Jeffere, depending on how you want to pronounce the name, or for that matter, attribute who the author is. It might be someone associated with Gray's Inn, it might be somebody else, and this play might be for a boys' company. There is no absolute definite answer to that one, as far as I know. I don't know if anyone's found an absolute. But this is a play from somewhere in the 1560s. I've got a date in front of me of 1567, but it could be a few years earlier, it could be a few years later. It goes all over the shop, potentially. But that's where it is potentially placed. So we're again in that wonderful, weird world of the 1560s, 70s, where everything is up for grabs, and goodness only knows where the plays are all going. Just to warn you in advance, the text is not in the best of states. It has been marvelously tidied up by Helen, but there is very little that can be done about a couple of scenes in Act 2 because there are big gaps in the manuscript. So we are going to be acting out all those gaps, and it's going to be great. It's going to be great as we come to those moments. And we're going to get a sense of how the play functions in just a moment with this wonderful room of people. So today, reading Amedeus, 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 oh, Amedeus, is...
Hi, I'm Eric. Yeah, not Amedeus, but I mean, you know, if I hear enough, maybe I'll start to act like him.
Or Dr. Zaius, depending on your particular mood. Reading Biondello and Manutius is...
Hello, I'm Lois, and I'm a retired academic living in London.
And of course, all of the pronunciations I'm going for here are very conditional and will change as people get into the zone as we go. We are very much in the land of slightly strange names. Reading Trappola and Carolino is...
Hi, I'm Alan Scott, based in Suffolk in the UK.
Reading Formosus today is...
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Amisu, and I'm an author living in Romford.
And reading Cantalupo and Iphigenia is...
Hello, I'm Emma Kemp. I'm an actor based here in London.
And reading Squartacantino, possibly that's how it's said, is...
Hi, I'm Lynn. I'm a teacher and I live in the northwestern United States.
Reading Piccinino and Catella, possibly, if they actually speak, is...
Hello, I'm Helen Good. I'm a historian in Yorkshire.
And reading Tomasine is...
Aliki, Chapple. I'm an actor and translator based in the north of England.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I'll be reading any stage directions we happen to find. I don't think there are actually that many. So I'm hopefully going to be very silent as the room takes all the work and effort from my shoulders. That's see how that goes. Okay, we're going to dive straight in. There is no prologue as far as we know. We're going to dive into Act 1, Scene 1. And there are two characters on stage. Amedeus and Biondello are there. Otherwise, we know no more than the dialogue will now tell us.
Now, sure, Biondello, you are a worthy hind to trust to at need. I imagined in my mind that having ye with me, I had another Hercules.
Yea, marry, though I be but a servant, yet doubtless my life is as dear to me as yours is to you.
I know thou didst hear me when I called thee.
Very true.
And yet thou wouldst not answer, nor once peep thou out thy head of all this livelong night, sith you first went to bed.
Why, I pray you, would you wish me to have risen in the dark and been caught with these sprites? That had been a pretty walk.
Go, horse and camel, by thy parsonage thou art big enough to bear a standard if thou hadst a good man's heart.
I give you leave to talk, but I pray you, sir, tell me, why couched you so close and got not up to see what hurly-burly was there?
Slave, makest thou no difference between me and thyself?
Yes, you have store of pence and ruttocks in great plenty, and I, poor soul, have none. You are master, I am servant, but else of flesh and bone I am as well made as you.
Thou mightst have said so, that I am of reputation, and thou for naught dost go, that I do good abroad, and thou bringst no commodity, that I am stricken in years, and thou art young and lusty. Oh, that I had thy youth, and those limbs that thou hast to deal with the dragon, thou should not make me aghast.
I am hired with you to do my simple service, and not to fight with bugbears. Oh, what a noise was this! Those shrieks, those cries, that cruel roaring fit! Though the night be quite past, ring in mine ears yet. I do not marvel, though your son durst not tarry, but lay these 2 nights forth. He had good reason, marry.
When my son told me first that night, I heard nothing, but these 2 nights gone, there hath been an old rumbling.
Why, in what sort was it?
They bounced on the floor right over my head, that I looked every hour that the loft, the walls, the house, and all would down. But I'll lie no more nights there, if I may in all this town find never so base a lodging, till the clattering be ended, and straight I mind to seek how the matter may be mended.
What think you to do?
Let me hear thy best counsel.
Do you not remember what Formosus didst tell?
I've half forgotten.
The astronomer.
Thou sayest true?
How say you? Is it best I bring him to talk with you?
Yea, marry, do thou so, while I will go, while I will go and ask the advice of my neighbor Cantalupo.
Why, what can he help?
Why? Dost thou not know that it is always good to have 2 strings to one's bow?
The fewer know your case, the less they shall clatter. But if you list to tell him, it makes no great matter.
While I go, stay at home and look to the house.
Stay there alone? Mary, our Lord defend us.
Cowardly wretch, who shall see my dinner dressed?
Dinner me no dinners.
Why, thou dastard craven beast, wilt thou have me fast today?
Have you not cheese and butter and a cold capon's barn, and more than I need utter that remained of yesternight?
Thou knowest I cannot eat except I have pottage and some good meat. I never think I dine except I have some broth.
This once you must have patience, be you lief or loath.
Then thou must be master this once, but what wilt thou do while I am abroad?
I do mean to get me to your son Formosus, and as soon as he doth rise, we will fetch the astronomer.
Canst thou tell me where he lies?
Here at the next house, with your neighbor Camillus.
In the name of God, do so. Sith thou darest not keep the house, I'll follow thy mind this once and get me gone. But hearest thou? Let this man be brought hither anon with all possible speed.
It shall be done in haste.
In such weighty matters, I love no time to waste.
The wiser man you.
And exit Amedeus.
So he is gone his way with a flea in his ear. Now farewell, gentle Jeffere. He hath his errand with him, I warrant him he is sped. Instead of toys, he hath bugbears in his head. He hopes by the help of this same astronomer to hossen these spirits. But if we frame this gear, we hope to hossem him. By this counterfeit key, which we lately let make, we will find such a way to his goldings that he keeps in prison so cruelly, that I trust yet ere night they shall have a jail delivery, if my cunning do not fail me, especially if Formosus have provided the astronomer he talked of unto us. But who cometh yonder?
We'll just pause there before we go into what's labelled as the next scene, but it's one of those primary entrance and exits scene notations. This is a sprightly little piece, isn't it? It's bouncing along really nicely. We've got the older master, the younger servant, and the older master just he needs his hot food. He needs a hot meal. It's very insistent on that. I can appreciate that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. Thoughts from the room? Aliki.
So just double checking, we have a plot here to defraud the old master, not the neighbor, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I got a bit confused as to which he was he.
Yeah, I
Many
think he's an
he's.
old miser, more or less by definition. All old men are misers.
Like a commedia dell'arte piece. The
Uh-huh.
advisor, his clever servant, his pretty
Mm.
daughter. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So even more like Plautus, but it's, commedia derives from that anyway, doesn't it? So yeah, it's a very good opening, I think. I mean, they get the exposition in a very effortless way.
Mm-hmm.
Eric.
Well, it's kind of like basically sort of that subverting thing. Well, I mean, obviously, I don't know the dynamics between them, but I'm guessing that Biondello is kind of a clown in that he kind of like making fun of his master kind of thing and sort of subverting the dynamic of, I'm supposed to tell you what to do kind of thing.
Yes, excellent. Other thoughts from the room? Helen.
We've established that this is a street in front of the house and that there's at least one other house entrance there. So it's a bit like the one where they have the battle. You've got just the set with a number of house fronts behind it.
Like Ralph Royster Doyster.
Yeah, like Ralph Royster Doyster. What we have here so far, anyway, is a street.
Yeah,
Lynn.
Yeah, also like a classical comedy, like the Monachmy or something like that, where you basically have a unit set with doors to go in and out of. Kind of reminds me of that as well.
Yeah. And presumably they've come rushing out of the house at the beginning. That's the point. I mean, something horrible has been going on in there, so they rush out into the street. I mean, very effective.
Yeah, excellent. Shall we get a little more evidence? Let's find out a little bit more about the play. Okay. We go into, as I say, labeled Act 1, Scene 2, and so we have the entrance of a new character, Trappola, to the onstage servant.
Is not that my friend Biondello?
Is not that my Franian Trappola?
Let me see. Is it he or no?
What, my Trappola, the king of good fellows that did lie with the queen of beggars, all hail to thy majesty.
Biondello, my old coat's mate of knaves, ye grand captain. Not a knave of baser size, but a knave dyed in grain, the warden of the company of javels, and the storehouse of subtlety and falsehood. Most welcome art thou to us.
How goeth the world with thee?
Like a bowl, very round.
Upon an old razor wilt thou lend me 20 pound? And I'll pay thee again when we two be honest men.
Wilt do one thing for me. Shalt see what I'll say then.
What is that?
Wilt thou do it?
If I can.
Stoop down alow and kiss my round rivet while I claw thine elbow.
3 sunburned thistles and a little urchin's wool, and of wasps and hornets 1 small poor bushel full, and the devil's nails unpared.
Well, let these greetings go. Canst help me to Formosus?
That I can.
Canst thou so? Where is he?
Not far off.
Yesternight he bade me be, this morning at his lodging, but wherefore I cannot tell thee.
Then I can tell thee. The astronomer thou must play to work a certain feat to serve his turn this day.
He had haste when he met me, and so told me not wherefore, but he willed me to come to him, and then I should know more.
I can tell thee the matter, for I devised it.
What is it?
Go in, he will tell thee every whit.
Nay, he sleeps yet, if his old want he keep. He wakes not so early. Therefore, while he doth sleep, declare me the circumstance.
Then hearken.
I do so.
Thou seest that corner house?
Very well.
There old Brancatio hath a passing peerless primrose to his daughter, whom Formosus doth love beyond the moon.
It is fit to be amorous for one of his years.
Now, almost a year agone, with prayers and presents and bribes many a one that he gave to her nurse, he behaved himself so well that he got to her bed. Howbeit, the truth to tell, she yielded not unto him, till first he had plighted his faith and troth unto her, and there he her wedded and bedded very closely, and put the wedding ring on her finger. Her father and his thereof unwitting, and everybody else, save her poor nurse alone, whereupon coming to her more times than that one, he hath left his mark behind him, and made her a mother.
See what comes of gaming.
Which known by a brother of her father's, he hath made a very earnest motion to his and her father to have her, whereupon he would marry her openly again with new solemnity in the face of the world, whom before he married privily.
What say they?
Brancatius, her father, is content, but my master Amedeus is so hellishly bent on the muck of this world, on his pelf and his dross, that of 3,000 crowns he will not bate a cross of round ready payment in dowry to bring with her.
Oh, Greek, thee gaping gourmand. Oh, whinnying, drivelling miser.
The demoiselle hath a stock of 200 and a farm of her own, but that sum cannot be found. Her stock and her father's cannot well reach so high, except he sold some land, which he will not till he die, and then all is hers, for she is his only heir.
Truly, methinks her portion is fair.
Yet it doth not content our pinch fist, the old vecchio, though her father's land be fair, and he wealthy also. He loves not long barefoot for dead men's shoes to stand. Rather would he one bird ready caught in his hand than two in the bush.
Therein he hath some reason.
Yea, and see another mischief in this same very season. Our neighbor, Cantalupo, old greybeard, loveth hotly my young master's wife.
What doth he? In mine eye, she is as meet for him as a glove for a horse's nose. Old Morel would have a new bridle, I suppose.
Why, fool, when he happeneth to sneeze in the night, hath he not need of one to say, Christ help?
Thou readest right.
And further, she will keep his back warm now he is old.
I doubt she'll make him stammer and say I'm cuckold. For old men speak huddle many times on that note, but forth with thy tale.
The old fool is so hot on that match that to stop my young master a tide, he tendereth him his daughter, and offereth to provide the 3,000 crowns that our vecchio doth require, which sum hath so set my old master all on fire that Formosus must have her. The bargain is concluded, the writings are engrossed, and yesterday were they sealed.
And how then?
How then, fool? What should Formosus do but confess he is married? He cannot marry two.
And what harm of that?
He shall lose his father's love and be turned out of doors. And therefore it doth behoove, lest he lose his inheritance, to keep all things secret. Now, this same Cantalupo's daughter's heart is set on another one, Manutius.
But I pray thee, what remedy have ye shaped for those matters?
Thereon the point doth lie. First, Formosus' wife doth feign herself sick and keeps her chamber close, having gone a month quick, lest her father should perceive her belly to swell, in which case we were forced the whole matter to tell to her mother, who to hide the thing more cunningly hath devised, as it were, for the ease of her malady, that she shall to the farm here without the town's end, to take the fresh air, to see if she will mend.
Oh, these mams are exigent, their daughters' pranks to hide.
Now finely for the purpose and clerkly she doth provide, to salve her daughter's sore, and to blear Brancacio's eye. This day after supper she shall go thither closely. She hath borrowed a litter for the purpose.
That's alone.
Oh, well, that fear is half past as soon as she is gone.
But to break the second marriage, how provide you for it? I mean with Cantalupo.
Peace, I'm not so far yet. This same Rosamunda, so Formosus' wife is named, hath an uncle, a stale bachelor, whom we have framed to offer to give for his niece's preferment these 3,000 crowns, and further is content to make her his child, so she marry with Formosus.
Will he disburse this money?
No, that charge lies on us for the 3,000 crowns to provide.
Where are they?
In my old master's coffer. And here is a false key to help us unto them. Her uncle only shall take upon him, he doth give it, to help his niece withal.
Old grandsire will miss it, and so smell out the train.
For that we have a shift.
That would I hear fain.
We intend to bring him in belief that sprites did rob him.
What, is his head so gross that you think you can bob him?
Why, is it a thing impossible or unlikely that sprites will deal with gold? They are nimble and sly to convey greater matters.
Let Formosus be advised, for doubt lest he pull an old house upon his head.
Well, hear me out. Formosus gave out this other morning that the house was full of sprites, and that he heard a rumbling all the livelong night, and feigned a marvelous fear.
What said old Amedeus?
He laughed at this gear and called his son fool. But at night went Formosus to lie forth of doors here at the next house with our neighbor Camillus, from whence, through a window which I left unbolted, they got in below, and so into the cockloft o'er my old master's head. There they shaked iron chains, and bounced, and trampled, and howled, as 1,000 devils had been there.
Oh, passingly well.
My master had great fear when he heard that ghastly stir, which lasted till near day, till Formosus and Camillus got forth the same way by the which they got in.
Oh, there was sport alone.
My master called me as soon as night was gone and told me all the tragedy, which I knew better than he. Now, this last night past, he made a pallet for me hard at his chamber door, because I should lie near, for I took upon me none of this stir to hear.
Now, a knave put on thy coat?
Half an hour after midnight, Formosus and his Franians came again that same way right that they came the other time, and made like stir or more, if more might be made, than they made the night before. He called me. I lay winking, pretending for stark fear, if he gave me all he had, that I durst not once come there. So that up he could not get me till this morning at broad day, in the which we two parted, and he took that same way to talk with Cantalupo, and to tell him of this case. And I, for the astronomer, for Formosus set a face as though he knew where to find a cunning man to help all these matters by art.
If he can inform me what to do, then I'll counterfeit for covening to eat a coney's tail. But yet, in all thy telling, I see not to what end my art serveth to help those love matters.
Though thou dost not, yet I do. Thou shalt know more within, but to show the same briefly, thou must colour the taking of this money by negromancy. But go we into him. See, where comes Cantalupo, that lusty old lover, and his man, Squartacantino.
And they exit, and yes, it's been coming out in the chat quite a lot, and I think it's an important point. There's an awful lot of backstory going on here. It's just wave after wave, and forward planning and plotting, and you know, I have to admit I zoned out on quite a few of the details there. I zoned back in again when we got to the sort of robbery plot, and we'll blame it on spirits, which I really enjoyed. What elements of the plot really grabbed people? Let's go with that. We can acknowledge there's a lot of stuff here, and that might need dealing with. But what bits particular? I mean, or maybe should we just go straight into dialogue-y things? Some great insults. There were some great insults. Eric, I saw a hand.
I was just going to say it's a bit like a soap opera where it's kind of like, yes, the neighbor loves her, that, I don't know, the neighbor's son loves the, daughter's the daughter of the neighbor that we're not supposed to have relations with, and her best friend loves, I don't know, the brother of the cousin of the, that, like, it's got that element of like sort of weird human interest.
Yeah, there is so much going on. This is a whole world that's just existing and is there. Lois.
Yeah, I think the way to work it out is to follow the money as usual. I mean, they need 3,000 crowns, right, to as a dowry if the right people are going to get married. And the question is, who's actually got them? It turns out the person who's got them is the one who wants them. That is the old Amedeus. And so but someone else is going to be pretending that they're his. And anyway, it's I think it pretty much works if you try to figure out how they're going to do that.
Yes, Lynn.
So yeah, I'm having trouble keeping track of all the plots, and I'm hoping that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I think,
yeah.
I think if you saw this it's not going to help that Rosamunda is not an onstage character. That seems to me a little problematic. Decades ago, I saw a play that was based on a commedia plot with Arlecchino and Pantalone and all of that, and it had an eligible ingenue who was Arlecchino's love interest as well as a couple of other people's, and a young married woman who was planning on cheating on her husband. So I mean, I think all of this may have been familiar to the original audience. So maybe our struggles would not have been the original audience's struggles, keeping the threads.
I mean, there's a lot here that is, shall we say, formulaic. That has influences going back, thousands of years. It's a bit of commedia, a bit of new comedy influences all over the shop. There's still a lot of data. I mean, even if we understand the basic plot lines, it's throwing so much at us. Aliki said something, I think, in chat about what do we do? How do we deal with that? But also, any additional thought? I saw your hand there.
Well, I mean, I can't quite work out if we have 2 or 3 young couples who are thwarted. But that's because I got lost in the plot. And I would have really liked to have a sort of dumb show illustrating this. Here is this old man and his daughter, and here is this. Yeah.
Well, maybe that's what the 2 characters are doing, because obviously there's a lot of exposition.
Yeah.
And maybe within that, there could be a kind of, you play this person's doing this. It could be quite physical to try and get it across visually as well as just with words. Try and help the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Elizabeth, I thought as well. Yes, then Helen.
Yeah, what I really liked about the play so far was how much we found out about characters that we haven't seen yet. So they talk a lot about Formosus, and they talk about his dilemma and things like that. And I thought that was really, really good. I enjoyed that a lot because I think it builds some dramatic tension.
And the thing is, we've got the setup now, so an element of setup. So hopefully, I mean, I actually quite like sometimes when plays just gets all the exposition out of the way really quickly, and then you can just get into unrelenting action. I don't know if the player's going to do that, but one can hope. Helen.
My feeling is that except for the uncle who is at some distance, everybody lives on this street. So you've got maybe 3 house fronts, and the characters being mentioned can in fact appear on the balconies, even the one who is a ghost character, Rosamunda. So they can point to the people on the coming out and going in, oblivious of what's going on down below, the characters as they come and go.
Yeah, I mean, that's where this forum struggles, is anything where those visual shortcuts help fill you in, because people don't really hold on to names necessarily very well, but they will hold on to, oh, it's that one. And we don't have those elements visually for us. Lynn?
Actually, video conferencing technology would be great for that, because the person could just turn on their camera and then they would have their name, their character name, and a costume, and just sort of, pose while they were being talked about, so the audience could have a visual connection. Okay, maybe that's a dumb idea.
No. It's just that you get it in film, where people are talking about such, and then you fade into them doing whatever it is they do in their lives. No, it
would just need a bit of planning ahead, Yeah, we could do it. Cool.
Lois?
Yeah, it might work as a Zoom play, actually. I mean, have people appearing, the name in the box, and then they then they turn the video on, and you see them, and then they go back to just being the name again.
Yeah, if these characters are literally their only sound is that their video feed goes out, and then the people they're talking about keeps flashing up. That would work very nicely. Yeah. Okay. I think we've only got another chunkette to go before the end of Act 1. It's flown by. It really has. It's really moved super fast. Before we move on to the next bit, I just want to just talk about the way the dialogue's actually flowing. It does have a bounce, and obviously it's got rhyme, but it also feels very direct and quite natural. I don't know if that's how it's feeling for the readers or not, or whether you're working incredibly hard to make it flow. But it feels really effective.
Yeah, I've always been fascinated by doggerel, actually. I mean, I think it really was a way of writing prose without writing prose, because you can pretty much stick the rhyme wherever you want. And so I don't think on the whole you have to stress it unless there's a point where it can be used for comic effect. And that's why it does tend to kind of ripple happily along.
Yeah, I think that the only real problem with doggerel is that it has this name that sounds like it's bad.
Yeah.
Whereas I think with dramatic dialogue, I mean, I basically write all my monologues in a form of doggerel, because you maintain a line structure, which makes it easier to learn the lines. And okay, it's not in verse, but it functions in that way, that it's a way of learning it, and arranging material visually on a page. So yeah, I'm really liking this. Okay, 3 cheers for doggerel. Let's move on. It's the stage has been cleared. Cantalupo, that lusty old lover, and his man Squartacantino enter.
Do so, Amedeus. I wish you took that way. Let him tell you his opinion. I have said what I can say. Let me hear of you again. Now, my Squartacantino, am not I happy, trowest thou, if my good friend Brancatio keep promise with me, and let me have to wife Rosamunda his daughter, the lady of my life?
I should think you did better to do your kindred good with your goods, for they have need, than thus to wax home wood on a girl at these years, or to help me, your servant, with some good annuity, than Venus games to haunt. I doubt your young wife will mark you. I doubt your young wife will mark you, I wot how, with St. Cornelius's badge.
Caitiff, what sayest thou?
I have seen as mad a hatter as that come to pass.
He shall never piss in meadow that feareth every grass.
Do you think these frosty hairs are fit to match with her?
Frosty hairs? Nay, my boy, I never felt me lustier, nor better disposed. Tut, thou knowest not me yet.
Oh, sir, get you in. Methinks you have a fit of an ague by your shivering and coughing so eagerly the cold air is not for you.
An ague? Slave? Why?
How do you? I perceive you are not well in the head.
I ail nothing, but am very well disposed.
Let me feel your pulses. You are heart-sick, it seemeth so.
Away, beast! Dost thou think to make me Calandrino?
Your brains are out of tune, that you talk thus a dwelf. of love tricks at your age.
Why, knowest not, horse and elf, that amor vincit omnia? O Rosamond, my sweeting, God send me thy favour rather than to be a king. Be of good cheer, my girl, when thou art on foot again. We will knock up this marriage.
I perceive this is plain not an ague, but a frenzy.
Then how current shall I be?
We had needs of cords and chains to bind him, I see, an old man thus to dote.
How old am I, slave? I have yet in my head all.
Your eyes?
My teeth, knave.
Methinks in your wooing you take an awkward way to draw it thus in length and drive it from day to day. These women are all of the Hastings.
Blame not me. If it lay in my power today, it should be, rather than tomorrow, or else I wish the gout and the cough and the cankers would red me.
No doubt, but it may be as you say. Yet, sir, this apparel is of so stale a fashion it cannot like her well. It makes you look like it makes you like a sheep.
A sheep?
You are lapped in fur as a sheep is in wool. I would keep an old store with the tailor for the fashions, if I were as you are, since you will needs be a lover.
Thou wouldst have me cut and square, and hack and hew my clothes, and go strut it like a tosspot?
There's a mean tween staring and stark, blind you wot.
And because thou dost say so, I'll go mend the matter straight.
Why, whither will you go?
To the tailor's to wait. What fashion is newest to please my lady's eye? And bedecked in that suit thou shalt see me by and by.
You consider it wisely.
The while go thou and get at the apothecary shop some fine musk and civet to make me smell sweetly, for I'll lead a lover's life. Oh, what might I do to win her to my wife?
This gear asketh cost.
Cost? What talkest of it? And I had a whole empery, I would spend it every whit to win my Rosamunda. Hold here this crusado to buy this gear with, all the while I will go to the barber's to be trimmed.
To the dyer's rather get you to dye your hair and beard of another fresher hue. But hear you, for your daughter's dowry you must care that you marry to Formosus. You had need to save and spare. It is a good round gobbet.
Tut, I have made my reckoning for that matter already, and therefore I will sing.
And they sing. You don't have to sing. Just make it fun.
Oh, love, I die.
Oh, fool, I fry.
Oh, mine own sweetheart.
Oh, coxcomb that thou art.
Oh, my queen and my lady.
Oh, my twitchled and my baby.
Oh, my empress and my goddess.
Oh, madness and beastliness.
My heart with love doth skip.
The dog bolt lacks a whip.
How it leaps in my body.
Alack, my poor noddy.
Oh, the joy of my mind.
Oh, a head full of wind.
Sing hey, trolly lolly.
Farewell, my filly folly.
And exit Cantalupo.
Now he that in one packet of all follies would bind, let him knit up my masters, for doubtless in my mind he cannot so be so sped. Sith he has fallen in love, what gauds and gambols of Venus doth he prove? What toys and frantic fits do encumber his head? He is combed and slicked and washed and perfumed and frizzled and marquisated. A mare would break her halter to see how Rosamunde his old vein can alter. He luteth, he harpeth, and singeth all the day, with a voice as sweet as any as can bray. He jetteth up and down before his lady's door, and with sonnets and his love lays he keeps a stinking store. But sith this foolish camel on the sudden will wax so fit, let me go and provide this musk and civet. Dig dogmat tritron were fitter, I suppose, or a dram of pilgrim to salve the clap to his nose.
And exit Squartacantino. Oh, there's a huge chunk of that was very that last speech very John Haywardy. There's a couple of bits in there that I'm just going, someone's read up. It's either Play of Love or Four Ps. A couple of bits in there that are very, very similar. Anyway, just a general note: all of the songs are at the end of the and separate from the text, so their placement is not always as obvious as others. This one, I think, we can be fairly firm on. It lives here. It's a lovely call and spoof song. We have the traditional sing hey trolley lolly. We've got that elsewhere as well. In a fragmentary play, there's some, I think I could be wrong on that one. Farewell my Philly folly. So again, the insult game is very good here, isn't it? You would have me cut and spare and hack on you my cloves and go strut it like a tosspot.
I couldn't quite hold it together on that line. Apologies.
Great.
It's a goodie.
It is good. And he shall never piss in meadow that feareth every grass. I mean, that is a t-shirt line if ever we had one, isn't it? Because that is something that we can all understand. It's a moral for our times. Okay, yeah. Thoughts. It's another master-servant relationship. It's a very similar master-servant relationship, really. We're getting this similar things happening again and again. Yeah, thoughts. You were talking about holding it together there, Emma. How was it for you?
It was a very, very comic scene, and it felt very fast-paced. So I was a little bit pressed to get all the words out because the text just made me want to go quite quickly. And obviously, the two characters are kind of picking up each other's rhymes and words, so it does trip along like that. It's obviously quite a comic scene. This obviously much older man who's thinks he can be a young lover, and his servant's trying to let him down gently, and but he's fighting it all the way. So that's where the comedy comes out.
Yeah, he's not going to listen. He's clearly never going to break this delusion in his mind. He's quite happy living there. Yeah. Other thoughts from the room on this little exchange?
Okay, I'm sorry. I really had no idea what I was saying at a couple of points. So, blah, 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 blah.
I doubt if you're the only one.
But that happens too. Yeah. And we got some then and then inversions in one of these speeches. So that's it. If you were going to fix up this text, that's something to look at. Yeah. So there were a couple of places where maybe punctuation would help, but actually I'm impressed at where Helen's found the sentence boundaries.
Well, it is interesting that we've got so many half lines, and that seems to be the stuff that trips us up actually, or potentially trips us up, because you think, head for the end of the line. This a lot of the time it doesn't. There's these little breaks, or in certain terms of sense, and it does, it really does dance around a lot. And it is when you've got this stuff that is deliberately fast and dancey around stuff. He's combed and slicked and washed and perfumed, and all these lists, and that sort of set piece list action that that's very early Tudor interlude stuff. It's got all that sort of element to it. I had something a second ago. I've lost it. Other thoughts from the room? Eric, do I see a hand?
It reminded me a bit of that scene that we did from, I think it was Damon and Phintius or something like that, where they sort of, the two jesters and the coal miner, I can't remember what he did exactly. Yeah, and he basically got scammed and sort of robbed of his money while they were singing a jolly song, and they had this whole thing of a gimmick of getting the glasses that didn't fit him, and that he couldn't see a thing, and that kind of it just it just reminded me of that.
Yeah, and there is this element of he's going, well, if we're going to do all these things, sir, we need some money, don't we? Would you like to give me some coin to pay for it? Of course, for love, I will spend. There is no cost limit on that. I really do love some of this stuff. Look, it's so nice. How old am I? I have yet in my head all ... your eyes. No, my teeth. It's fast-paced comedy. Helen.
Yeah, I wondered with that coin, he says, oh, I'll give, I will spend every wit. And then he gets into his purse and very carefully picks out a fairly small coin and says, it needn't necessarily, the actions could in fact not be in opposition to the words.
Mm. Yeah, that's that. I like that. Yes. Okay. Anything else on Act 1? As we have finished Act 1. Act 1 is over. It is gone. It is in the past. Okay, let's go into Act 2. Act 2, Scene 1, straightforward enough. We've got text there, which is, it seems to all be there. So it's Helen, I think it's over to you.
I'm Piccinino.
Yes, you are. Sorry, I should say.
Enter Piccinino. Yeah. I can scant hold up mine eyes. For why these 2 nights past I slept not half an hour. Who ever saw such a cast? Now the winter's night be long to die for lack of sleep. 'Tis no wonder, considering what a bouncing we did keep over Amedeus' head to put him in fear. What a bustling of chains and a rumbling made we there. Gods mend this world with me and send me to sleep my fill, which I know I shall not do by my master's will. Truly, these masters have but little discretion, but had they first been servants, they have mended that condition. That I were a master, how happy were it then for these lowly fellows should hap to be my men. They should have good round wages, well paid them at their day. They should lie well and fare well and have their times to play as well as to drudge. They should have such drink and meat as should be provided for my person to eat. I would never chafe nor brawl, nor send them in the rain, especially in the night and in the heat again. They should sleep their undertide. They should not run and lackey like spaniels at my stirrup, but should ride every journey, though it were but a mile. They should go by time to bed and not rise too early. Thus should they be handled if I were a master. But, sith I am a slave with Camillus, the contrary of all these things I have. Yet I cannot much mislike, for my master for company and Formosus did take like pains the more than I these 2 nights that are gone. But here is the mischief. When I would take a nap rather than my life, he sends me out of doors, even quite beyond Arno, to fetch certain masking visors of Rondelletio. But let me trudge hence, for here on Dapardor, if my master took me here, he would keep an old stir.
And exit. We've got another servant musing on, oh, if only I were a master, what I would do, but I'm not. And I'd really much rather be having a kip, but I've been sent out on this errand. Rah. We've had similar servant speeches like this before, actually, in other plays. I can't remember off the top of my head, but the coming on and this is the nature of my lot kind of little moment of exposition. Thoughts? Lynn?
Yeah, this is sort of interesting. I'm kind of charmed by it. We're going to stop the action for just a moment for a little social commentary and then get back into it.
Aliki.
So all we've met so far is masters and servants, which is interesting.
We
And
haven't met that many people. I mean, I'm very aware that a lot of the room has not spoken yet, or they have, but there's some have spoken considerably more than others, so it should balance out. He said. Did you have any more, Aliki? Sorry, I was.
No, I just think it's interesting that everything we know so far is basically from the servants, with a little bit from a couple of old men.
Helen, then Lynn.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a callback here in case the audience, at the beginning of Act 2, in case the audience is losing the plot. Piccinino was one of the guys who was jumping up and down in the attic at Amedeus's house, which is why he's so tired, because for the last 2 nights, he hasn't been doing anything except rattling chains above Amedeus's head. So this brings the audience back to that event, in case they've forgotten it.
Yes, always good to do callbacks. Lynn, then Eric.
I was just going to mention that, Aliki was saying like masters and servants, and that, but that maybe that seems like a weird thing to us, but in the early modern period and in the medieval period, people at all levels of society, like below royalty, went into service for some part of their lives. Just you went to become a household servant to the social stratum just above yours. And so even fairly humble people had servants. If you think back to Night of the Burning Pestle, the grocer has a servant. And the relationship between masters and servants was often really quite close and almost more paternal or parental than it was hierarchical. So, if you think of, again, I'm thinking of, this is much later in the period, of Night of the Burning Pestle, where the grocer and his wife really, they're sort of backstage parents. They treat Rafe more like a son than like a servant. So those relationships could be really close, and there were a lot of them. Everybody went into service at some point in their lives, almost.
I concur.
Eric.
Well, a real historian concurs.
Also, you would have had I guess it makes sense because the servants are telling most of the story because they would know most of the things. They sort of word gets around. They're sort of in the background most of the time, but they know all the stories of the house.
And also they have a very good sense of what reality actually is. The masters live in this bubble where their desires are to some degree reality. I'm again not suggesting this has any connection with any modern social things, but yeah, whereas everyone who actually has to live, do all the work and and sees and catches all the gossip, we always trust what the servants are telling us, whereas there is unreliable narrator qualities to any master, because they're just living in a different universe. Any additional thoughts before we go into World of Fragments?
I have a question. Is Rondaletio a person or a style? Because we had towards the end of the last speech, the last servant speech, it says to fetch certain masking visors of Rondaletio.
I think it's a bloke.
Person. It's a person. Okay.
He must be.
He's not a figured character, so just some merchant, some maker of masks, presumably.
Maker of visors.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's a good question because we've got that there quite beyond Arno. There's these little markers that are sort of popping in. When we've only met a relatively small number of people yet. Okay, so we have a scene now with Biondello and Trappola, who we have met before. Yes, let's just go through the surviving soup that is available and see if we get anything out of this. So good luck, everyone.
Oh, come, Trappola, let us devise our cunning plan for deceiving
Get on with it.
I think, to be fair, the only word that was available there was "come," and half of that was inferred.
Oh yeah, I thought you wanted me to make up the rest.
No, it's all right. Just we'll see what the room gets out of the words that are there.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And how?
He would.
Lest I. Now, the one.
I warrant thee. I have ye let them.
Ah, but where? That both. They will.
Are they certain?
Yeah, oh yeah, and more.
Greater matters. 20 time I have brought, although in.
These matters, and to tell them to make them to.
The grocer? Nay. Why stay? To linger till they.
To Santa Maria de Angeli.
As thou sayest for ye, that I brought thee, but who cometh yonder that wrought all this?
And they exit. There is weirdly a sort of a sense of something. Okay, not really sure what's going on. But there's this sort of little sense of urgency to it. They are the yea and more and greater matters I have brought. Why stay? There are just those little hints of impotences that are there. So the plot continues. I think is unless anyone's managed to pick up any more, we probably won't really infer what's going on precisely in this scene until we've read what happens afterwards, because it's probably set up for something that's about to happen. Eric, are you going to make a guess?
No, I was just going to say it's probably like something like a spanner in the works, like with I don't know. The Great Escape, or the Inside Job, where things start to go wrong, and it's just like I know some commentary or something. I'm not sure.
I think Trappola is saying that he can handle this and more too. I mean, I think all that speech with greater matters, 20 time, and I have brought. He seems to be saying that he's done all sorts of fantastic things in the past, and he can do this too, whatever it is.
It's all under control.
Yeah.
He has a cunning plan.
Yeah.
And it's cunning. Okay, we go into another area of damage, though it's actually much less damaged in many ways. So we may get a bit more, and then that goes back into an area of relative survival. So it starts off with Tomasine, and then Formosus will join the scene as cued. So Tomasine, all the best of luck.
Thanks. I warrant you, I will straight to find him, if you pluck up your heart, and causeless torment not yourself. And nearest thou, Phillida, the caudle that I made, he in the dobnet on the fire let, and give her of the broth till that she can fast so long. But her love cloys her stomach, and such meats as are wholesome and should and fain down sound owned jealousy ye imenting the thing in distress heaviness not to go woe fearful case Iphigenia shall displace plighted love she will prove at her jealous ears doth clatter. Struck a bargain between them twain, Iphigenia to his wife ends her life. See that match proceed, that he meaneth indeed, that he to her hath borne, deeply hath he sworn. Contrary, yet to appease her mind, that takes it so deeply, this only way we find to be able to help to bring him to her sight, whose only gladsome presence can stint her stormy fright. See what mighty wonders worketh love and mad jealousy in a woman's wilful heart. But yonder cometh, luckily, Formosus that I talked of.
Well said, my Camillus. Sith all things for the purpose are ready in your house. The counterfeit key, the squibs, the balls of fire, the rosin, and the candles, and what else we desire. Do you set all things in frame the while I will fly, in haste to Rosamunda, and return by and by?
He talks of my charge.
Revive her again, whom the tale of my revolt, poor wench, hath well near slain. Sorry be those tongues that delight to devise, to set us two out such uncredible lies.
This beginning is good.
And it were not for pity, I would chide her a little to believe such a vanity. Can I forsake her? Can the fish live on land? Can men live without breath? Can the heavens rolling stand? Can the flaming fire freeze? Can the chilly rivers burn? As soon may these things hap, as Formosus faith my turn.
O worthy true heart! Now he is in this good mind, a better time unto him than this I cannot find.
That talketh fair. What? My foundress Tomasine, how fares Rosamunda your charge, that sweetest saint of mine?
Never worse.
Heart, how so? What has happened?
She is sick with great sorrow, and with fear well near dead.
Alas, why?
She hears that Iphigenia hath put her out of place.
Displace my Rosamunda, my true and faithful wife? Should I so abuse her? No, never will I do it.
You would not refuse her of yourself, she could believe, but your father hath agreed, and his word must stand.
My father had need to reckon twice herein, for he reckons without his host. If he reckon such a reckoning without me, who most that matter doth touch, doth she think me such a dastard, so unkind, so brutish, so degenerate a bastard, from common humanity, to yield to such a wrong? That neither her acquaintance, whom I have known so long, nor her most loyal voice, nor my shame, nor her courtesy, nor our faith in wedlock plight, can save me from such villainy.
I know she hath deserved to be remembered of you.
Remembered? Oh, Tomasine, 'tis most true, and proof the Prince of Praise in time shall so try that the memory of her and her love shall never die in this her heart or mine. The words that you spake when we two were married, that time that you did take her hand and did put it into mine, when with my ring I assured her unto me, and made open professing with oaths of my faith, that never from her should flit, those your words in the midst of this true heart are writ. Never can I forget them. Formosus, quoth you, and see this my child, of whose love a long view and trial you have taken, whom now you see at eye to yield to the possession of herself to you frankly, and make you her husband, that is to say, protector and sovereign of her life, of her fame and of her honour, of herself and all she hath. Her unto you I give, and you unto her together so to live, that nothing never sunder you, in gladness and in sadness, in health and in sickness, in joy and in distress, in poverty and in plenty. From henceforth yours is she. From this time till death to her must you be, a husband, a friend, a tutor, or rather, instead of Manutius, a loving, tender father. The high God be a witness of this your wedlock band, in whose name I beseech you, and by this your right hand, and by your troth, plight faith, by the love of both of you, that each of you to other in such liking will continue. I yielded and took her, and her I'm mine to have.
I trust so.
Till death shall lodge my corpse in a grave. I chose her, I like her, and our natures do agree. At one word I am hers, and none but hers will be.
Those words hath revived me.
If I may win my father to yield to this match, his good will would I rather, than to have him frown upon us. If he will not consent, 'tis done, 'tis dispatched. Choose him, my mind is bent.
Will you come yourself to her, and tell her but so much as you have now vowed? Her earnestness is such to see you, that but you nothing else can appease her.
I mean so, and there I will further, for to ease her of her dreary drooping dumps, disclose such practice, that if it take effect, I trust all her corrosives. Yet, ere night shall be supplied, and her griefs fully qualified, and that with frank goodwill of all friends on every side. But yond comes Piccinino.
And indeed, but we'll briefly pause there for this interesting interlude that's coming up. It's really interesting, actually, the way the nurse. I don't think the nurse figured in this narrative earlier of how they became, betrothed, because it seemed. Did I miss that?
Yeah.
Because it seemed a lot more dodgy, whereas in terms of getting into the bedroom and whereas this moment here, it's sort of this great long speech that he recounts. You told me this, and it all feels a lot more solemn, and a lot more organized in a way that the original one just sounded like he climbed into her bedroom and said, "Yeah, I'll marry you, honest, yeah." Or that's how it sort of came across to me. So I find that this really interesting. Tomasine, obviously you have that broken opening monologue, setting up for the introduction of this person we've heard so much about, Formosus. This young lad, we get. Presumably, an element of you supposedly talking about the situation that he's in, but how much of that we can get?
You can infer some of it. I mean, she's pining away because she's heard he's married somebody else, and she's off to market ostensibly to get her food, I think, but in reality to find Formosus. Boy, he better not be planning on marrying somebody else because she's very cross.
Yeah, which is fair enough. She was there. Lois.
Yeah, I mean, something that with stage directions would be clear is that when he comes on, he's talking to somebody off stage. I mean, in the house that he's just come out of, which is why they have these two parallel sort of soliloquies almost. I mean, she's overhearing him. It's a funny stage effect. She overhears him talking to somebody else. He doesn't overhear her. I wonder if. I wonder whether Commedia follows that classical convention of not having more than 3 actors, and consequently, you have to keep addressing people off stage in order to get the right number of people into a scene.
Yeah, Aliki.
I think she's addressing somebody else at the beginning too. I think she's talking back to Rosamunda. I warrant you, I will straight find him if you pluck up your heart.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, to those people who we can't afford additional actors for.
Yeah.
All those offstage characters. Hi. Yeah. Lynn, then Eric.
Yeah. One thing about this text that I find very odd is that Rosamunda is an offstage character. She's sort of this honeypot that everybody's, buzzing around, and she doesn't come on stage. Structurally, there's no reason that this scene couldn't be between the 2 lovers. I mean, that's something we see in Moliere, where the lovers have a spat and then patch it up. It's something you see in Commedia, where the lovers have a spat and patch it up. There's really no reason that Tomasine has to be Rosamunda's ambassador in this case. So it's just a very odd choice. I'm going to be looking at that as this progresses.
It might be an element of the source material. This is a weird play because it's not from one source material, so it's sort of Italian, but it's bits of different things. But if it's the I can't remember which play it is off the top of my head, but there's definitely one Roman comedy where there is a similar analog to this, where you never actually meet the love interest off stage. So I wonder if that's partly in the mind of this, that's an element there. It may not be. I genuinely don't know. But Lois, then oh no, it's Eric. Did I say Eric? Did I not? I can't
I
remember.
did nothing and then just waited.
Yeah, sorry.
No,
Eric.
I was just going to say
then
that
Lois.
it sounds like Tomasine is actually speaking to someone about Rosamunda, because she goes, and her love clothes her stomach, and such meats are as wholesome, and so on and so forth, and give her of the broth to, like, I don't know, whatever she's going to do. So yeah.
It could be a whole host of random people that maybe the manuscript just doesn't actually tell us about. I don't know on that front either. Yeah, I've been scribbling lots of additional stage directions in my script. I think it's a really good point that was made. Lois, then Alan.
Yeah, I was just going to say that in classical comedy, I think the heroine is very often off stage, and it's often because, as in this case, she's also pregnant. And I think sometimes, doesn't she even give birth sometimes in the course of the play? I mean, it's.
I think that happens in Pot of Gold, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Not, I think, a source for this, but it's that kind of thing. Alan.
Yeah, I must admit, I was thinking that the first section of that could actually be asides to the audience rather than to an unnamed character, an offstage character. And on the absence of Rosamunda from the onstage personnel, we did have that explanation earlier on that she's hiding herself away in case Daddy realises that she's up the duff.
Yeah, I think in terms of the practical of who talking to who, I think there's a mixture of things. Tomasine, it does seem to be talking to someone as she's entering. She might then be talking to somebody else. She then talks to the audience. So there's lots of different directions that Tomasine is going throughout that scene, and then she talks to Formosus. So Tomasine is talking to everybody, as it were. Any additional thoughts before we return to some singing coming up now? That I'm not going to make Helen do. No, it's all right. We do actually have some of the actual music for some of the songs, not these songs, but two of the songs there is actual music for. So which is nice. It's always nice. Piccinino, Helen, Act 2, Scene 4, please.
A spriting go we with this face, that face, and you, Goodman, good face, sing hey ho, lolly, hey ho. A spriting go we. Like bugbears with vizards to make old soots dizzards, with scourings and rousings and bowsings and trounsings, with rumblings and lumblings and fumblings and tumblings, with ramblings and tramplings, with rappings, with trappings, a spriting go we, with fire flames flashings, with squibs lusty crashings, with huffer, with ripper, puff, puffer, with clatterings, with batterings, with patterings, with tatterings, with wranglings, with langlings, with banglings, with danglings, a spriting go we. I have trotted beyond Arno to fetch these devil's visors. 'Twas happy that Rondelatio was at home when I came, else I might have stayed a while, and then our Camillus would have been in a broil, had I stayed never so little. I had not been here yet, for the man was going forth, and then a brawling fit we had been sure of. Oh, how he would rave! Thou wretch, thou beast, thou Ingram vacation knave! He hath a store of sorry words to brawl with poor I, and I abide them all, and taketh what cometh patiently. So I save some lip labour. Heretofore, to my cost, I would give him word for word. Then, as hot as a toast, he would teach me my liripoop, and make me to lend my words to a vengeable usury in the end, for he repaid me treble, and for my words would give me a store of words and deeds too. So waspish would he be, if I ruled not my clack Wherefore, now by experience, I have learned to put up my pipes and use patience. Well, let this talk pass. I will carry in this ware and hope for the end of this garboil. I take care lest it be not ripe yet. If it hang long, I doubt lest for lack of my sleep I shall watch my eyes out. But be it ended once, and that all turn to good, I will vie sleeps with him that looks out of a hood. But who cometh yonder? Let me see. 'Tis Manutio. He mourns at the chine by his drooping cheer, it seems so.
And once again, exiting this random, very tired servant who is it's really interesting how even if people aren't actually then talking to the people who are coming on, everybody is helpfully introducing who these characters are before they come on stage. Very nice, very nice. May also be a queuing element, but it's nice. So yes, he's got a devil's visors, he's got devil masks, so presumably that's he's rolling into that when he does his song at the beginning. Again, a lot of that song, all of it just feels awfully familiar. It's not quite the same as some other earlier stuff, but it's very similar in tone. I'm just wondering whether that as bits of that song have a precedent. That's one to look up later. Nobody needs to worry about that at this moment. A continuing journey with this character, though. It's just hopefully it will be fine in the end.
Yeah.
Catch up on some sleep.
I noticed he went quite Yorkshire in the first verse.
It worked rather well, actually.
It did.
Did it?
Oh, there was a bit of Bayek in there.
With rumblings and lumblings.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's my go-to accent in case of need.
No, absolutely. Any additional thoughts on this little break-up moment of the action in Act 2? We've got, I think, one more scene to go in Act 2. Lots of people turn up. There's more than 2 people in a scene. People coming up. I know. Hold on to your trousers. This is roller coaster time now. Any additional thoughts, Eric?
It is that thing of like sort of queuing in people, sort of, hey, and who comes yonder? I think it's Piccinino or Manutio or whatever. It's like, hello, costume change, and depending on how many people are doubling this or not.
I'm suspecting actually that it's not doubled at all. That it's a group of individuals that's large enough. Because I don't think there really is a bit. We got some doubling issues later on when we're a bit tight on readers. So I suspect it's not designed to be doubled at all. I could be wrong on that point. Aliki.
I just think this is going to be marvelously fun on stage. You get the right person to do this and caper and snore and I don't know what. This would be great.
Yeah, I think apart from that, the just tidying up the expedition material at the beginning, it's just everything about this is just rattling along really rather nicely. Okay, let us move into Act 2, Scene 5 then. So we have a whole host of people. Manutio has been announced. Other people are with. I'm assuming it's a him. I actually don't know. Mostly him so far. So let's see where it goes.
What sayest thou, Carolino? Shall Formosus have my lady?
'Tis too true.
How canst tell?
For I met Biondello lately, who reported it to me.
Ah, miserable Manutius, between hope and fear that so long hath hanged thus, now, hope being gone, what remaineth but to die in deadly despair?
Sir, will you do wisely? Sith that you wish for in no case can be, wish for that may be.
Iphigenia is my wish.
You see, for your tooth she is too dainty a dish. Therefore, let her go.
That loveth me so well?
If it cannot come to pass, 'tis but folly to dwell over long in hope of her. There are more maids than Malkin. You know wedding and hanging by destiny are brought in.
Oh, thou mayest sooner speak it than I that feel it do it, for thou art free from grief, and I am in my fit. But sith it is so, and that malgré her and me, Formosus must have her, and his she needs must be, my death shall make him room. But yon comes my empress and the queen of this corpse.
Ere I starve in this distress, I first do determine all sorts of salves to try, and then, if no help serve, perforce I yield to die. And therefore Catella to Rosamunda will we go, to learn what she can tell me, to increase or ease my woe. But yond is my Manutius. Oh, thou sovereign of my heart, how fareth the world? Must we two needs part?
So the cruel stars decree.
Oh heavens, oh fates, thrice cruel destinies that hurl such heaps of hates, and spit your spites at us. Yet do the worst ye can, and let my spiteful father against kind be the man, that on his poor daughter doth work your wreckful wiles, as the minister of your hate, and the instruments of your ills. Yet, if with the life you deny me my Manutius, my death shall deliver me from your malice so outrageous. I will have none but him the end shall truly try, that his I will live, or else his I will die.
Oh, my lady, appease your grief if it may be. If not, yet refuse not a companion of me, that have vowed in your service to bear with like good will whatever shall befall us, be it good or be it ill. And tell me, whither go you?
To the guiltless poor Rosamund, of whom I received this ghastly, grievous wound, and whom I have gored with the like wound again, each cause unto others of like rebounding pain. My father commands me to see how she doth fare, for they say she is sick. But my chief and greatest care is to learn what she can tell me, and to frame between us two some remedy for this mischief, and what is best to do, for it pincheth her as hard, and as near as it doth me. And therefore, fare you well, for yonder cometh he, whom I loathe to see or hear, my bane and mortal enemy, the crop, and the root, and the ground of our misery.
And so exit Iphigenia, and presumably here Formosus has entered.
What sayst thou, Carolino? Shall I break to him my mind? It is wisdom ere one perish to seek all helps to find.
Take heed what you do.
I will crouch and kneel and pray and entreat and beseech, if any way I may get grace at his hands.
I have set her in such plight that now she is revived, and her grief is banished quite. But yonder is Manutius.
How sayst thou? Shall I go and move him in this matter?
I wish you to do so. You shall yet do this good. If you speed not as you would, you shall make him to doubt you, lest you will make him cuckold.
Hold thy peace, whoreson caitiff.
My Manutius, well met.
Oh, Formosus, all my hope and my health in you is set. That's your line, the next one.
Why? What can I help you?
Will you marry with my love?
They say so.
If you do so, most true you shall prove that that day shall be my last.
So.
I do fray to utter it to him. Tell thou what I would say.
My master doth love your Iphigenia.
Now truly, he is not of my mind, our opinions therein vary. Hath he had no further dealing with her than bare wooing?
Oh no, good Formosus.
I wish you had been doing.
Now first of all old loves, do not wed her, I pray you.
I will swear I never mend it.
If your father would weigh you to her, Yet delay it till I wander in exile, for I cannot abide to tarry here the while to see you match with her.
Manutius, this I tell you, to crave heaps of thanks where no thanks are due, is no friendly dealing. Here I flatly surrender Iphigenia unto you. Not for that I do tender in this case your suit, as though save to you. No man else should have her from me, for this most true, that rather would I lose her than win her to my wife. Ye I seek all means to scape her.
Ah, you have rendered me my life with these comfortable words.
Marry this, still I say, though I love you as my friend and will pleasure you what I may, yet herein I crave no thanks, rather you I will thank. If you or your man can invent any prank, or forge, or find out, or coin, or devise some feat that she may be yours in any wise, I myself will procure that mine she shall not be.
'Tis enough, I ask no more.
You go in with me to Camillus' house. I will show you there more what we have devised than you knew of before, to bring her to your hands.
Lead me whither it pleaseth you.
Yea, your help may do us pleasure.
Go before, I will follow. Sarah, get thee home the while, and if Hindus or Oceanus quire for me, thou shalt have me here at Camillus' house.
And they all exit, and it's the end of the act. Yeah, did anyone else get the impression of Formosus just at some point just literally grabbing him, just shaking him? I have no interest. It is fine. Calm down. Bam, bam, bam.
Why haven't you been seducing my fiance, you swine?
Done anything else? Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. You haven't, you idiot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's again, it's a really interesting. We get to say little backs and forths and a sense of what can happen when there are three people in a scene as well as just two. You know, there's a sense of, oh, what should we do? Yes, we do, and talk to it and back and forth. It's nice to have a bit more of that dynamic going on. And of course, yes, Helen, may I say your Catella was extremely excellently played there.
Yeah, I had this weird feeling that yeah, I
Catella
wasn't going to have much to say,
Yeah,
so I thought I'd make the most of it.
Absolutely, a silent random person at the back who is inferior in the scene, but comes on and exits with Iphigenia.
Yeah, what I did love was that Manutius couldn't even bring himself to tell Formosus. He had to delegate to his servant to tell Formosus. Yeah.
Yes.
And he does it so bluntly as well. Just, my master doth love your Iphigenia. You know, that's what this build-up has been. Aliki.
So I don't know the precursors of this comedy particularly well, but I know some of their descendants, which are musical comedy plots. And this is what this reminds me of, where you have a serious couple and a comedy couple. And here you have a brave, adventurous couple. They went all the way. They've got cunning plans. And you've got the couple.
Well, I sense it is a musical comedy because we've got 5 songs at least. So you know, it's not actually that far off. I think we could do with some more chorus numbers though, couldn't we?
I don't think it'd be any great difficulty to turn some of these songs into chorus numbers though.
Oh yeah, no, I think there's a lot of good material here. I think there's definitely a lot of fun that could be had to putting this on stage and just throwing all sorts of ideas and fun at it. Because I think it's definitely got legs. Any additional thoughts about this scene that we are currently sitting in? It's all around us. Okay, right. Well, then we are going to go to final thoughts about the first 2 acts of this play. I mean, just to sort of kick us off, I mean, this is a play that basically I just knew existed in some vague sense somewhere. You know, I knew there was a title called The Bugbears. I had absolutely no idea anything about it. And it took a very long time to actually get a copy of the text in any way, shape, or form. It is deeply, deeply obscure in so many ways. And yeah, it has so far been an absolute delight. I mean, it's not perfect, but there's everything is very fixable and a good company and lots of energy. There's a lot of good here. You're allowed to disagree, of course. Let's go around the room. Emma, how was it for you? Final thoughts?
Yeah, so I had 2 quite contrasting characters there. Obviously, the old fool, or that kind of grotesque comedy that comes across, and then Iphigenia, which, yeah, to me, because I've done some commedia dell'arte in the past, very much fits into that kind of role of young lover, where it's all like, I will love or I will die, and like her it's life and death, and it's very kind of very strong, heartfelt, powerful language. It's full of alliteration, ghastly, grievous wound, gored. It's very, very, very powerful. So yeah, there's just so much to get your teeth into with this play. It's great.
Eric, final thoughts from you?
Yeah, it's one of those like sort of making fun of all these like over the top like love interest plots where it's like, oh, I will love you until the day I die, and then like suddenly the character meets another woman and it's like, oh my god, well, hello there. It's got that element of like nothing is too serious, even the plots to like sort of get like the serious plots are not that serious, you know?
Yeah, and that's a sense about the exposition thing. I mean, once it gets going, it doesn't matter really, actually, precisely who's doing what, and you know, you could sort of just ride the emotions and the things going on around you. Alan, final thoughts from you?
Yeah, I mean, it moves at a fair pace.
It moves at a ridiculously fast pace. I mean, we're already done. We should have another 15 minutes in this session to half an hour, and we've basically run out of text. I mean, if I'd known, I'd have done this over 2 days.
Yeah.
Damn.
I think one of the things that probably would be helpful would be to actually draw a diagram of who is who relates to who. Be a right spider's web of a diagram, but it might actually help to try and clarify the various roles. But the more I listen to it, the more it does seem to be working very much within the commedia tradition. And you could almost see it as the stock characters. You know, the young lovers, the old fool, the grumpy father, you know, and additional clowning brought in. You know, and all of the servants, I think, are basically to be played as comics.
Yes, I mean it's that new comedy Italianate material. I mean, nicking from all over the shop, yeah, I mean it does function incredibly well. On that thing about a chart to understand who everyone is, I mean, following Helen's suggestion of, you know, we almost need a street plan with where everybody lives. Actually, might be a really nice way of looking at it. Elizabeth, final thoughts from you as the young lad with so many problems in his life.
Formosus. Yes. I was really interested in what you said, Rob, about the obscurity of the text. I was not sure what to expect when I heard the title, Bugbears. It just sounds so anachronistic, because Bugbears sounds like something from today, and play is like a lot older. Obviously, it's not a modern play. My favourite character was Piccinino. I thought it was a form of a clown. It was a form of a clown character. And I agree with what Alan was saying about the commedia dell'arte play and tradition. I thought a lot of the characters were archetypal, which made it really easy for the play to flow. For that combined with the lyrical language in the text as well, it made the play flow really quickly. As soon as we met the characters, we knew what they were like and we knew who they were. And when they started expounding, we just could just go along with the play. I could follow it really easily. Alan was saying about the pacing. I thought the play had a wonderful flow to it and the lyricality that made the long speeches really easy to read. Because I had 1 or 2 long speeches and I was like, oh no, there's so much text on the page. And then I got through them quite easily.
Mm. Yeah, it is very pleasingly comprehensible. I mean, there are plays where you just go, there's a wall of words and it's heading for you. But you don't actually have that with this at all. Lois, final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed this one very much, and it was fun to play it. It's funny. I mean, things like typecasting and formulaic plots don't usually sound like terms of praise, but it's amazing how effective they can be. I mean, anybody watching this one can see where it's going immediately, and yet it's extremely enjoyable. And there is some very clever language in it. I mean, it's a pleasure to listen to.
Mm. Yeah, and there continued to be some really good insults actually in that last section. There was lines of dialogue. I've got exclamation marks all over the place from some of these scenes. So I'm just simply insults or just really bizarre exclamations that are just a joy to play with. Lynn, final thoughts?
Yeah. Literary critics often talk about comedy as it's social. It's about the formation of a new society. It's about the old people resisting change and the young people getting what they want. And this is kind of that in spades. Often in a comic structure, you have some young people that are on the side of the plans of the old folks. And it really seems like the old against the young in this structure, that we don't feel much sympathy for any of the older characters, and all the young characters are on the same side trying to get what they want. So, and that's that divide between the old society and what they want and the new young people and what they want is very stark. And I wonder if in the end, like some of the older characters will be integrated into the new formulation, or if they'll just get left behind. So I'm curious about that.
We don't have much sympathy with any of the old characters at all. I mean, it seems very appropriate that this the two options we've got for this are either young men or boys as performers. We're not even necessarily into desperately we're into adult, but not very old adult. That fits very nicely with the text itself. Aliki, final thoughts?
I'm really enjoying the comedy. I'm really enjoying the wordplay, and as I said, what I said in the chat was it's a sex farce, and I'm going to stand by that. I think there's just so many dirty jokes I can see sliding by, and I think they need to be underlined.
Yes, and final thoughts, Helen.
It's now my most favorite early modern play. I absolutely adored this from the moment I started on it. I added capital letters for proper names, but that was about it. Personally, I think I made the right decision. If I'd gone through it and punctuated the bugger, I think it would have put my choices onto you. And I felt it was readable as it stood. But it's wonderful. It's a joy. But it is very, very Italian. I think it's probably more Italian than anything we've read so far.
Well, yeah, I think that's a fair point. We have got a lot more material that is influenced by Italy coming through the pipeline. It is on its way, and other different kinds of classical learning as well, which we haven't really done that much on. Certainly, the various classical translations that increasingly coming into literary culture in the 1560s and onwards. So we will be fitting those in as we move forward. Yes, so we're going to get all sorts of different types of adaptation and adjustment. We have had a few early modern translations which we've looked at in other sessions, but nothing quite at this period. So, and it's really interesting how much of it is calling back to very old classical traditions, slightly more modern, as well as just certain types of effects that one expects from early and mid-Tudor interludes. I mean, there's so many little parallels that are just sort of piling on in there that I'm really interested in digging into, actually. So that there's all sorts of fun things that I'm enjoying very much. It's not often I get to say it. I enjoyed something which is influenced by Terence, because I can't stand Terence, but can't have it all. Lois, do you want to add anything?
Well, just I think this play used to be included in a collection called Early Plays from the Italian, which I actually used to have, but unfortunately got rid of when I was moving and was getting rid of books. I would imagine that edition explains what the original was like and maybe uses it, which I guess is what we would do, to find out what's missing in those scenes, assuming that it's a straight translation rather than an adaptation. But which I don't know. But it struck me actually that scene between Biondello and Trappola that we were reading the beginnings of could just be cut anyway. It didn't strike me that we really needed them to go over what they were planning to do.
I think it's one that I mean, the nature of the play I would go with is that you rehearse what you've got, and then you could probably improvise the rest. I mean, I wouldn't even say get a writer in. If there's a few lines of dialogue that needs working in, I feel that that's a improv in the room kind of element. So I'm quite interested in that. But yeah, a lot more digging. I think a lot more digging is in order, and of course we've got a lot more digging to do in the play itself, as we have 3 more acts to get through over the next couple of days. Do join us again for that on this YouTube channel. Do like and subscribe. It's the kind of thing you're supposed to say on these videos. Like and subscribe, people. Like and subscribe to us, not to somebody else. That would be awful. That would just be awful. Well, I mean, you can do whatever you like. It's your life. And on that cheerful note, I'd like to thank all the readers in the room, and goodbye.
Bye.